What if the fastest player of his era lived as if every day were his last, and every shift were a challenge to fate? This is the story of a time when hockey was louder, tougher, and more honest, when arenas shook with every touch of the puck, and a hero could leave the ice, smoke a cigarette in the hallway under the stands, and a minute later become unbeatable again. This is the story of Guy Lafleur, a man who flew across the ice like a comet and lived off the ice as brightly as he played. Watch this video to the end. Unexpected details await you, moments that rarely make it into the chronicles, and the truth about a legend that cannot be told in a few words. Born on September 20, 1951, Guy Damien Lafleur was essentially raised on ice. His father, Réjean, constructed a backyard rink that became his refuge. While other kids stayed indoors, watching cartoons during brutal winters, Lafleur spent endless hours skating, stick handling, firing shots, and picturing himself scoring the winning goal for the Canadiens. Some nights, he even slept in his equipment. By the age of 5, he was already dazzling local coaches. By 10, he was posting absurd numbers in youth hockey, 70 goals in a single season. And no, that's not an exaggeration. His true breakout arrived at the Quebec International Pee Wee tournament, where he scored at will and attracted scouts from across the province. Word traveled fast. This kid was different. Effortless stride, lightning release, and a ruthless scoring instinct. He had the it factor. By his teenage years, he was a full-blown prodigy. More importantly, he was relentless. Teammates later recalled how Guy arrived early, stayed late, and ran wind sprints until he nearly collapsed. That hunger never faded. In 1969, he joined the Quebec Remparts of the QMJHL, and that's when the legend truly ignited.
While with the Remparts, Radio-Canada broadcaster Jean Bernard gave him the nickname Le Démon Blanc, a perfect reflection of his explosive speed and local pride. The kid from Thurso became a phenomenon. During the 1970-71 season, he exploded for 130 goals and 209 points in just 62 games. Let that register. That's more than 3 points per game at the major junior level. For perspective, even Mario Lemieux, holder of the CHL record, needed 70 games to score 133 goals in his historic 1983-84 season. And Lafleur wasn't padding stats on a weak roster. The Remparts scored 437 goals that year, with Lafleur contributing nearly 1/3 of them. Night after night, he put on a masterclass. He idolized Jean Béliveau and Bobby Orr, and you could see elements of both, Béliveau's calm dominance and Orr's revolutionary offensive vision. The Colisée sold out constantly. Media surrounded him. Kids lined up just to catch a glimpse of Le Démon Blanc. In 1971, he led Quebec to the Memorial Cup, cementing himself as the most dominant junior player in Canada. Meanwhile, the Montreal Canadiens were watching closely. General manager Sam Pollock was several moves ahead of everyone else. He convinced California Golden Seals owner Charlie Finley to trade the Seals' 1971 first-round pick and François Lacombe in exchange for Montreal's 1970 first-round pick and veteran Ernie Hickey. Pollock wasn't finished. Concerned that California might not finish last, he orchestrated another deal, sending center Ralph Backstrom to Los Angeles. Backstrom lifted the Kings out of the basement, ensuring Oakland finished last. It was a strategic masterpiece. Pollock had effectively engineered the entire scenario. Oakland finished last, Montreal secured the first overall pick, and Pollock debated between Guy Lafleur and Marcel Dion. History tells us he chose Lafleur. The pressure was enormous, the expectations outrageous. Montreal fans knew exactly what had been sacrificed to land this kid, and they demanded instant results. But Lafleur didn't blink. He was about to bring rock and roll to the NHL. Joining the Canadiens wasn't like joining any other team. This was Montreal in the early 1970s, a dynasty that expected championships every season. When Lafleur entered that locker room, he wasn't surrounded by ordinary pros. He was among legends. Jean Béliveau, Henri Richard, Yvan Cournoyer, Frank and Pete Mahovlich, Jacques Lemaire. It felt like a Hall of Fame exhibit. The Canadiens had just won the Stanley Cup in 1971. Fans were spoiled. Media scrutiny was merciless. They didn't want patience. They wanted greatness immediately. Lafleur wore number 10 after Béliveau advised him not to chase comparisons. "Don't try to be the next Jean Béliveau. Be the first Guy Lafleur," he said. Still, the weight of expectation was crushing. Lafleur saw limited ice time as a rookie, which only amplified the pressure. His 29 goals and 35 assists were fifth best on the team, trailing Mahovlich, Cournoyer, Lemaire, and Mahovlich again. Fans wanted more. Critics questioned Pollock's decision, even though Lafleur nearly averaged a point per game. His first 3 seasons, 29 goals, 28 goals, then 21, were solid by normal standards, but disappointing by Montreal's impossible expectations. The crowd grew restless. Media labeled him too quiet, not aggressive enough. He wore a helmet, rare at the time, and some claimed it made him look timid. Meanwhile, Marcel Dion, drafted second, was piling up points elsewhere, fueling comparisons and doubt. Whispers began. Was Lafleur a bust? Inside the room, teammates disagreed. Larry Robinson later said, "Guy had everything. He just needed time." Veterans saw the skill, the drive, the resolve. Lafleur listened, observed, and absorbed. He studied Béliveau's leadership, Cournoyer's speed, Lemaire's intelligence. Quietly, something was building. By 1974, Lafleur had enough of restraint. He ditched the helmet, let his blonde hair flow, and everything changed. "I started playing better the moment I stopped wearing a helmet," Lafleur later said. The shift was immediate. That season, he erupted for 53 goals and 119 points. He wasn't just scoring, he was flying. That year marked the first of 6 consecutive seasons with at least 50 goals and 100 points, something never done before. Not by Gordie Howe, not by Bobby Hull, by no one. From 1974 to 1980, Guy Lafleur wasn't just elite, he was unstoppable. Montreal was his city, and he ruled it with speed, flair, and fearless offense. In 1975-76, he scored 56 goals and added 69 assists for 125 points, earning his first Art Ross trophy as the league's top scorer. The following season, he posted 136 points in just 70 games, a Canadiens franchise record that remains one of the greatest point-per-game seasons in NHL history. That year, he won both the Art Ross and his first Hart Trophy as league MVP. He repeated as Hart Trophy winner in 1977-78. By then, his dominance was unquestioned. His line with Steve Shutt and Jacques Lemaire terrorized opponents. Coaches built entire game plans just to slow him down. During the 1978 Stanley Cup final, Bruins coach Don Cherry instructed players to target Lafleur physically, an act of desperation. But Lafleur thrived on confidence. He knew he was the best player on the ice. When he picked up the puck in his own zone and accelerated, fans at the Forum rose to their feet before he crossed the blue line. When he scored, the arena erupted with chants of "Guy! Guy! Guy!" He was more than a player, he was theatre. And in the playoffs, he elevated even further. Lafleur was central to Montreal's 4 straight Stanley Cups from 1976 to 1979. He led all scorers with 17 playoff goals in 1976, recorded 26 points in 1977, and won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. Then came Game 7 of the 1979 semi-final against Boston. With Montreal trailing late, Lafleur stormed over the blue line and blasted a shot past Cherry Cheevers. The Forum exploded. Danny Gallivan's iconic call echoed forever. That goal saved Montreal's season and propelled them to a 4th straight cup, one of the most clutch moments in hockey history. Yet what truly defined the era wasn't just championships, it was swagger. Lafleur smoked between periods. He drank, partied, and ignored training manuals. Then he showed up and dominated anyway. Disco era, dynasty era, Lafleur era. He remains Montreal's all-time leader in assists, 728, and points, 1,246. Those numbers weren't accumulated quietly. They were forged in dominance. If the Forum was his cathedral, Crescent Street was his playground. In the 1970s, it was Montreal's nightlife epicenter, filled with neon lights, disco beats, and celebrity excess. Lafleur wasn't just a regular, he was royalty. Bartenders knew his order. DJs knew his song. He'd finish games, slip into a tailored suit, and head straight to the club in his Cadillac. Sometimes he'd stay out until 4 a.m., then show up the next day and still be the fastest player on the ice. He smoked a pack a day. He drank. He broke every rule and still led the league in scoring. Serge Savard once said, "Guy could party all night and score a hat-trick the next day. Nobody else could do that." But behind the scenes, tension grew. Coach Scotty Bowman demanded structure. Lafleur valued freedom. Despite winning 4 cups together, cracks formed. Bowman stepped down after 1979, and the dynasty slowly unraveled. As the 1980s arrived, Lafleur's magic began to fade. Injuries mounted. The team changed. In March 1981, he fell asleep at the wheel and crashed, barely escaping death. It was a wake-up call. Under coach Jacques Lemaire, Lafleur's role shrank. Defensive systems stifled his creativity. Ice time vanished. Frustrated and sidelined, Lafleur retired abruptly in 1984 at just 33. But the story didn't end there.
In 1988, he returned with the New York Rangers. At 37, he still had fire. He later joined the Quebec Nordiques, mentoring young Joe Sakic and finishing his career with 1,353 points. Lafleur's legacy wasn't just numbers, it was defiance, speed, style, freedom. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1988, number 10 retired in Montreal and forever remembered as a symbol of Quebec pride. He passed away in April 2022 at age 70. Montreal honored him with a national funeral. Thousands gathered. The city mourned. There will never be another Guy Lafleur. Legends fade, but Lafleur never will. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to hear about another hockey legend who defied convention, check out the story of Adam Oates. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your favorite Lafleur moment in the comments.